and the sound of howling helicopter blades has been ringing through my head all night. I'm flying towards an island. Next to me is my best friend Jensen. Piloting the helicopter are Claire and Harrison. And in charge of this whole operation is Lieutenant Lancaster across from me. We are Special Forces operatives being sent to this island to retrieve a canister filled with files of DNA. On this island, I believe I have heard there are creatures that one would never imagine living free. I have my questions about this operation. I know the government's just going to use the DNA to make weapons, but I'm just a soldier, and good soldiers follow orders. And then I think of Izzy, my daughter. I barely spent more than a week alone with her. And then every time I'm brought back into one of these operations, just then, Jensen nubs me on the shoulder. This is some real Jurassic Park stuff, ain't it? Yeah, I guess. Just then, Harrison goes, "Look! The island, we're almost here." We all look out, but we see something. A swarm of some kind of bug, a flying creature. It's weird looking. And then, the helicopter. The blades stop making a noise. They start making a more weird one. Then we start spinning around, twirling, like we're gonna crash. The sirens of the helicopter wail. We spin around. We are forced to jump out of the helicopter parachutes. As I'm falling in the air, all I can still think of is Izzy and the mess that I've gotten myself into. Once I hit the ground, after landing in a tree and cutting off my parachute, I look for the rest of them. Lancaster and Jensen are huddled together. I find them. But what they stare at is the body of Pilot Claire. The funny thing was, Claire didn't have legs. I looked around and saw an opening through the jungle to the beach. There were rocks, sharp rocks everywhere. And on those rocks were the flying bird, reptile creatures pecking away at his legs. He was long gone, especially since one of those creatures crashed into the front of the helicopter and its beak went straight through the window into the pilot. "Where's Harrison?" I ask. Lancaster points up. I look up through the opening in the trees, and I see Harrison still hanging from the crashing helicopter as he is swarmed by the flying creatures. Doomed. "We gotta keep moving," Lancaster says. And so we did. That God-forsaken island, once a promised paradise, is now fallen into cruelty, madness, and savagery. Lieutenant Lancaster opens a map, a digital map that he had on his comms, and a guide to all the creatures on the island. "Looks like what killed them. Or pteranodons," he says. Jensen replies, "This is Jurassic Park crap, ain't it?" "Harrison, shut your mouth. I didn't give you permission to talk," Lancaster snaps. We keep walking in silence. We walk through the primal jungle until we come across an open field. "We have to go through here," Lancaster says. We walk, and then a herd of what seem to be dinosaurs run at us. We have to run before they get to us. We reached the other side of the valley and into another forest in time, but wow, I stopped to watch with Jensen. So majestic. Jensen asks Lancaster where the dinosaurs are. He ignores us and keeps moving. "Come on, let's go," he yells. And we follow, because good soldiers follow orders. After a while of silent walking, Jensen starts arguing with Lancaster. "Why won't you tell us anything, Lancaster? What are you hiding from us this time? Another suicide mission? Is that what it looks like to me?" "You shut your goddamn mouth!" Lancaster screams. "What do you think of this?" Jensen says to me. "I think this is God's play. I think we are meddling with nature's work, and that we're gonna pay." And I keep walking. So do they. As we continue to walk through the jungle, we see in the distance our destination, the rundown facilities where the canister should be. And then the forest gets thicker. Creatures start to get more frequent, and then we see the silhouette of one of the dinosaurs. Jensen jumps and says, "Velociraptor!" He's obviously watched too much Jurassic Park, but that's what it looks like to me. Lancaster looks at his comms and says, "No, Utah Raptor." "We're screwed," I say. We try to go around it, but eventually it starts to chase us. We run until we reach the end of the jungle at the facility. It stops dead in its tracks and smells the ground. Then walks away. "This must be something else's territory," I say. Jensen says, "Something bigger." Then we hear stomping. Loud stomps and then a screeching roar. We run. Me and Jensen get into the facility, but Lancaster gets stepped on. We hear the cracking of his bones, the juicing of the blood in his body, but we have to complete the mission. After all, that's what he wanted. And good soldiers follow orders. We pass through a hallway that's lined with tanks where the creatures would have been bred. And we keep walking until we reach the main control room where the canister was said to be. We search around through the shattered glass until I find the canister. I told Jensen, "Hey, I found it." And then Izzy flashes through my mind. What would she think of this? Jensen yells at me, "Throw it over!" And then I hear the yerping, the chipping of one of the creatures. A smaller one that many would recognize as a Troodon comes to my feet, more swarm behind me. And then one slips on the gasoline. Something flammable follows. With fast motion, the room is lit on fire. And I decided to drop the canister into the fire. No more God's play. No more weapons for the government. Jensen, my best friend, he screams at me, "No!" He starts shooting. I run. But the Troodons, they swarm him and eat him alive. I run out of the building. I run towards a boat that's at the dock. I scream, "Yes! Yes!" I get onto the boat, but I hear stomping. I start starting it up. I shoo away all the Compsognossises off the boat. And as I'm starting to leave the hellish island, something steps on the boat. I'm in the air because of how unbalanced it is. And I stare into the eyes of nature's beast as it roars at me. The last thing I ever heard.